Hi. In previous chapter, we have seen that how K-means algorithms works. Now we are going to see a numerical question related to the K-means. How we will define a cluster based on the given data sets. See, here is the question. Apply K is equal to 2 means algorithm over the data 185, 72, 172, 56 and 168 comma 60 and 179 comma 68, 182 comma 72 and 188 comma 72 up to two iteration and show the cluster. Initially choose the first two object at the initial centroid. So uh, going going forward with the working with this, we can see that K means algorithm for the K centroid 2 is already given. K is equal to 2 is already given here, and data sets are given, and we have to do the two iteration and sort the cluster. And it is said that choose first two objects at the initial centroid. So we will select two centroid, this data point distance 1 and distance 2. So tabular format of this data will be this. Okay, now now see the centroid, the first cluster C1 will be C1 will be 185, 185, 72 and 170 and 56, right? Now we will find the similarity by using the Euclidean distance measures. So we know that Euclidean distance can be calculated using formula. Suppose x1 comma y1, this is the one data set, and x2 comma y2, this is second distance, second data, sorry, second data. So in the sum plane it will be something like this. Let us say this one is the p1 and p2. So p1 and p2, to find out the distance between these, we will use Euclidean distance that says if we are going to find the distance d between p1 comma p2, for this we will go with under root x1 minus x2 whole square minus y1 minus y2 to whole square, right? By this mean we are going to calculate the distance between the point p1, this point p1, and the point p2, right? So we apply this formula. By applying this formula we will calculating the distance of distance of this data between the we will calculate the distance of this distance with the first instant and the second instance. In our case, first and second are the two centroid that is given. So for this we will use Euclidean distance. So here we can see here dc1 3 x1 minus x2 का whole square plus y1 minus y2 का whole square. This give the value as this one, and the second value will be this one. By by our observation, we can see clearly that stand 3 is very near to the C2 cluster C2, then the cluster C1. So we can say data point C3 will belong to data point C2. By this we will calculate the other distance with the C1 and C2, and we so on. So we find that 4 belongs to C2, C1, and the data point 5 belongs to the C1, and data point 6 belongs to the C1. After that we will update our matrix. So in matrix we can see that we have distance C1 and C2. From the C1 distance will be the 0. Okay, for distance because this is the it's a cluster, so we are calculating the distance between this point, third distance to the C1 and C2. So this will be the our distance, resultant distance. So resultant clusters we can see clearly C1 itself, C1 and C2 are the itself cluster. C3 going to be belong to the C3, yes, sorry, C2. Instance 4 is going to belong to the C1, instance 5 is going to belong to the C1, and instance 6 is going to belong to the C1. So after the first iteration, result will be like this. Now what the process of the K-mean clustering says, after doing grouping some data, we are going to the update the centroid value by the performing the mean. So first see that here what we say, data points 1 4 5 and 6. So we will go with finding out the mean of this and this. So here we can see for the centroid, for the first cluster will become 185 plus 179 plus 182 plus 188 by 4 mean calculation, and 72 plus 68 72 plus 77 by 4, because there are the 4 data points. So now new centroid will, centroid will be this one, and the further centroid for the second cluster will be this one. Applying this again, we will going to calculate this similarity between this. So now see, now we are going to calculate the distance 1 distance from the C1 and C2. So here we can see clearly from our this value that that distance 1 will belongs to C1, and distance 2 belongs to C2, distance 3 belongs to C2, and distance 4 will belongs to the C1, and distance 5 will belong to the C1, and distance belong to the C1. Now see what is the updated value. After that we will update the table distance from the C1, distance this is the distance from the distance uh, of the distance from the cluster 1 and the distance from the cluster 2. So now we can clearly see that distance 1 is very close to the C1. So distance 1 belongs to the C1, distance 2 belongs to the C2, distance 3 belongs to the C3, distance 4 belongs to the C1, distance 5 belongs to the C1, distance 6 belongs to the C1. So after this, the result, after the second iteration, the resulting cluster will be this cluster 1 C1 and cluster C2. So now as we can see that there is no changement in the our cluster or group of the data. So this will be the final and the collect cluster. In our data, what our our breakdown process of the K1 said that we are going to do this until we are there is no changement in the cluster. So we can see that there is no changement in the our cluster C1 and C2. So this will be the final cluster and this will be the result of the K-mean iteration. Thank you.